Sarah Miller had always loved quiet nights. There was something comforting about the stillness, something almost sacred about the way her small Oregon town seemed to fall into a hushed sleep. After long days working at the library, she liked nothing more than curling up on her couch with a book, sipping tea while the faint hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Her cat, Jasper, was her constant companion, lazy, spoiled, but loyal in his own feline way. On this particular night, Sarah had the house to herself as usual. It was late September, the evenings beginning to grow cooler, and she'd wrapped herself in a thick blanket. The clock read 10:47 p.m. The television had just finished replaying a dull news segment about rising gas prices, and she'd clicked it off with a sigh. Nothing unusual, nothing worth remembering. She had no idea that within an hour, everything she thought she knew about her quiet life would unravel. The first strange thing was the knock. It was faint at first, almost like a branch tapping against the siding, but when it came again, slightly louder, Sarah froze. She wasn't expecting anyone, and nobody in their right mind came visiting so late unless it was urgent. She stood, moving slowly to the door, her heart picking up a nervous rhythm. Through the peephole she saw nothing. No neighbor, no car in the driveway, no shadow shifting under the porch light. Only emptiness. She debated going back to her couch, but curiosity tugged harder than fear. She cracked the door open, and there it was, a plain brown envelope sitting neatly on the doormat. Her breath caught. She looked around again, but the street was silent. Picking it up with trembling fingers, she shut the door quickly and locked it. The envelope was unmarked, sealed, and heavier than she expected. Inside, there was just one folded piece of paper. In thick black ink, the words leapt at her. "Don't trust the quiet tonight." Sarah's stomach flipped. She read it again, whispering the sentence under her breath as though it might reveal some hidden meaning. It didn't. There was no name, no signature, no return address. Just the cryptic warning. She tossed it onto the coffee table and tried to laugh it off. Probably some neighborhood kids playing a prank, she told herself. Maybe it was just her nerves from reading too many mystery novels. She reached for her tea, but her hand shook so badly that the cup rattled against the saucer. Then Jasper hissed. The cat darted to the window, tail puffed, eyes locked on something outside. Sarah followed his gaze and felt her chest tighten. Across the street, under the weak glow of a flickering street lamp, a man stood completely still. He wasn't moving. He wasn't smoking or checking his phone or walking a dog like any normal late-night passerby might. He was just staring directly at her house. Sarah gasped and pulled the curtains shut, heart hammering in her ears. She didn't want to believe it, but the envelope, the figure, the warning, it was all too connected. Fear crept into her bones like ice. She grabbed her phone and called Daniel, her closest friend since high school. He lived only a few blocks away, and though he could sometimes be careless, Sarah trusted him. "Sarah, do you know what time it is?" Daniel's voice was groggy but concerned. "Dan, someone's outside my house," she whispered, glancing toward the window. "I found this note. It says, 'Don't trust the quiet tonight.'" "I'm scared." That woke him up instantly. "Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'm coming over right now." Sarah hung up, trying to steady her breathing. She double-checked the front door, then the back. Both locked. Still, her hands shook uncontrollably. That was when she heard it. From the back of the house came a faint scrape, like metal against wood. Then another. The sound of someone testing the lock. Her throat tightened as she dialed 911. Whispering into the phone, she explained the situation as clearly as her trembling voice would allow. The operator assured her that officers were already on their way. Moments later, Daniel's headlights swept across the driveway. Relief washed over Sarah until she heard the back door rattle violently. Then, with a crash, it burst open. A masked figure bolted through the kitchen and out into the yard, disappearing into the night just as Daniel sprinted onto the porch. "Sarah," he shouted, rushing inside. She pointed, too shocked to speak. Daniel chased after the intruder, but the man was fast. By the time the police arrived, he was long gone. All that remained was the broken lock, the envelope on the table, and Sarah's trembling body. The officers were kind but matter-of-fact. Looks like an attempted burglary, one said as he examined the door. But the other officer frowned at the note. Burglars don't usually leave warnings. That was the beginning of Sarah's nightmare. The next day, she tried to go about her life, but nothing felt normal anymore. At the library, every creak of the floor made her jump. When she walked home, she swore she felt eyes on her from across the street. Even Jasper seemed unsettled, pacing the windowsills at night. Daniel started checking in on her daily. He would drop by with coffee, sometimes staying late to make sure she felt safe. She was grateful, but she could tell he was worried too. "This isn't just some random break-in," he told her one evening. "Someone left you that note for a reason." Sarah wanted to believe he was wrong, but deep down, she knew better. The days passed, but the unease only grew. Another letter appeared in her mailbox a week later, this one with fewer words, but even more chilling. "Not over yet." Her hands shook as she showed it to Daniel. "They're targeting you," he muttered. But why? That question haunted Sarah as she lay awake at night, every sound amplified by her fear. The once comforting quiet of her home had become suffocating. Weeks later, a breakthrough came in the most unexpected way. Daniel suggested installing security cameras around her house. Late one night, the motion sensor triggered an alert on his phone. When he reviewed the footage, both he and Sarah froze. The masked figure had returned, but this time, he wasn't trying to break in. He was standing in her yard, staring directly at the camera, holding up another note. The police analyzed the footage but couldn't identify the man. Could be anyone, they said. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that whoever he was, he knew her. Her mind raced with possibilities. A former neighbor? Someone from her past? A stranger obsessed with her routine? The suspense gnawed at her. Every night was a battle between exhaustion and dread. Then came the night everything reached its breaking point. It was raining hard, the sound of water hammering the roof and drowning out all other noise. Sarah sat in the living room with Daniel, both of them on edge. Suddenly, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the house. The silence after the storm was deafening. Then, from the hallway, came the slow creak of a floorboard. Daniel grabbed a flashlight and motioned for Sarah to stay behind him. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the masked figure standing at the end of the hall. Before they could react, he ran. Out the back door again, disappearing into the night as though he had never been there. But on the floor where he had stood, Sarah found another note. This one chilled her to the core. "I warned you. The quiet never lies.